was refugee in Pakistan, I was refugee in Iran, I was refugee in Dubai, and now I'm a refugee in France.
Les gens, quand tu es handicapé, ils n'essaient même pas de voir ce que tu es capable de faire, mais ils te jugent à travers ton handicap.
Haberme venido no fue una buena idea.
यहाँ की लड़कियां कुछ नहीं कर सकती।
Growing inequality exists in all of our nations, and all of our nations have work to do, and that includes here in the United States. And that's why today I am committing the United States to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals.
Targeted action is needed in all our development cooperation efforts to remove barriers that keep women, young people, indigenous people, persons with disabilities, refugees and other vulnerable groups on the margins of society. Leaving no one behind is critical to ensure a life of dignity for all, to defend against rising populism and violent extremism, and to sustain peace.
Despite recent global progress in tackling poverty, the poorest and most excluded have often been left behind. Older people, ethnic minorities, families based in remote rural areas, and people living with disabilities are just some of those needing extra support. But it isn't only minority groups. In some countries, more than half the population live in extreme poverty. The Sustainable Development Goals adopted by the UN won't be met unless we reach these excluded groups, and fast. The first 1,000 days, that's 3 years, are critical. As the longer governments take to act, the harder it will be. To eliminate ultra-poverty in sub-Saharan Africa, the bare minimum we should be aiming for, progress needs to be made twice as fast as current rates.
I mean, just imagine how many brilliant scientists and entrepreneurs and writers like George Orwell are now withering away in scarcity. Imagine how much energy and talent we would unleash if we get rid of poverty once and for all. I believe that a basic income would work like venture capital for the people. And we can't afford not to do it, because poverty is hugely expensive. Just look at the cost of child poverty in the US, for example. It's estimated at $500 billion each year, in terms of higher healthcare spending, higher dropout rates, and more crime. And in that scenario, according to our economist best estimates, for a net cost of $175 billion, a quarter of US military spending, 1% of GDP, you could lift all impoverished Americans above the poverty line. You could actually eradicate poverty. Now that should be our goal. The time for small thoughts and little nudges is past.